Fawaz Shaheen is our next speaker. We are getting youth speakers from both sides, and he's from Aligarh Muslim University speaking against the motion. Fawaz, the floor is yours. You can respond to Ashwin on any of the points he's made.
Thank you, Arnab. I think before going further into the debate, what we need to analyze is the real meaning of this phrase, aspirations of the youth. Now, Ashwin has been talking about the least common denominators, but let's face it, I mean, employability for you and me may not mean the same thing as employability for the chotu at the nearest dhaba. And so basically what we need to understand is that the youth is not this homogeneous, monolithic block, and there's no common, unified list of aspirations which we can, work on and then go after the political class with that. There is, in fact, a diversity within the youth. The youth form different parts. The youth come from different sections of the society. And therefore, there is also a heterogeneity of aspirations. And these aspirations are something that we are often not ready to understand. I mean, for example, we all get very irritated by these, trouble-making tribals in Odisha who are not allowing Vedanta to mine for bauxite in the Niyamgiri hills. What we do not understand is that they've been living there for hundreds of years and they have their own very genuine aspirations with regard to what should happen in those hills, with regard to any mining that should happen in those hills. Or, for instance, how the entire issue of Jal Jangal Jameen, the assertion of rights by the youth belonging to rural and tribal areas is something that we are very disconnected with and that we don't tend to understand. And I mean, look at the treatment we give to the northeastern youth. I mean, how many of us are concerned that Irom Sharmila is going to complete 13 years of hunger in a simple aspiration for justice? And for that matter, let's look at how we ignore the fear of racial profiling that Muslim youths feel today. I mean, the very fact that me, a very mainstream, middle-class Muslim youth, my parents don't allow me to travel on a national holiday because they're afraid something bad might happen to me because of my Muslim name. So these are things that the problem of aspirations, the frustration of aspirations is something that has a lot to do with the social incoherence which is present before us today. The gap of understanding between different sections of the society and therefore between different sections of the youth. I mean, apart from a very elite class, how many people celebrate festivals together today? Why is this greater ghettoization between different communities? So this is leading to a very incoherent social functioning, which is that this social crisis is spilling over into the political scenario. And here I would like to say we are making a very, very big mistake by drawing this sharp differentiation between the political class and everybody else, between the political class and the youth. Because why do we not own up? Why do we not realize that we are all part of the politics? I mean, we have Professor Yogendra Yadav here. You just called him, now he's part of the political class. It's not as if suddenly Professor Yadav one day decided that I want to become a politician. The fact of the matter is, throughout his life, his entire academics, his entire civil activism has been geared towards a certain kind of politics. Similarly, the activities of an NGO or a human rights organization, or for that matter, a corporate firm, are all geared towards a certain kind of politics. Why do we not realize that? Why do we tend to disassociate ourselves from the political class and say these are some sort of an alien entity who've been installed before us? The apathy in the youth, the way student unions have become irrelevant, the way we refuse to come to the streets for something that we believe in, is something that is most appalling and most dangerous. I mean, the recent case of the Delhi gang rape and the way students got involved is a very rare example of how we get up for something that we truly believe in. And that is something that we need to look for. That is something we need to start owning up, taking responsibility, and start saying that the political class is all of us. We live in a democracy, and it's the job of all of us to not just choose people who will be connectors between power and people and power, yes, but to become the connect between people and power. That's all I have to say for now.
Fawaz, well argued. You make a point here, and I want Kiran Bedi, who's going to be our next speaker, to respond to that point, that the point that you make is very interestingly articulated. What you're saying is that politicians are only the symptom of the social malaise at best, and therefore you make a very controversial point, Fawaz, and I like controversy. You are making a point that politicians are the favorite whipping boys, but they don't deserve it.
Politician syndrome.
Have I understood you correctly?
Yeah, I am highlighting the blame the politician syndrome we tend to have.
I think it's speaking against the motion. I've been seeing that hand go up for a long time. So I hand it over to Fawaz Shaheen. Be specific, Fawaz. Who is your interjection to?
Address Dr. Kiran Bedi. You said Jan Jangal Jameen is being led by the politicians, but it's not just the politicians, it's also huge multinational corporations and assorted number of NGOs and middlemen cutting corners. And what do we do with them? I mean, 2G scam, we all demonize 2 Raja, and that's how it should be. How many of us boycotted Tata Docomo because it benefited from the 2G scam? Where do we place the responsibility of the others involved in corruption? Where do we place the responsibility? Why do we respect all these middlemen? Why do we idealize money so much? Just because somebody has made money, we know they've made money out of cutting corners, and yet we don't hold them accountable. We don't organize social boycotts. Why don't we boycott a doctor, a government doctor who's doing private practice? Why do we give them the incentive to be corrupt? And it's all of us. So you can't just keep blaming the politicians. They're just the most
Kiran
visible
Bedi is
symbol.
responding. No.
See, are there any DU students here? Can you raise your hands? Any DU students? Okay, is it not true that votes in your student union elections are cast on liquor bottles, the rain dance party tickets, and the latest movie releases, right? When we ourselves are, every party does this, by the way. You know, I'm not here to play any blame game. I'm just here to say a word of caution. When we ourselves are making our student unions irrelevant, our agency irrelevant, it's surprising that in all this debate, nobody has raised anything to do with, any point to do with student unions, because we've left them in the lurch, we've forgotten about them, and we hate to talk anything related to them. Our parents discourage us from going into politics. We think it's something dirty to do that. We think it's unfashionable to go out, to ask for votes, to campaign, and then we start blaming all the politicians for everything that's wrong. Where is our sense of accountability?
No, we have a solid point. From banning books, movies, textbooks, school curriculum, I think political units of political parties at the student level have led from the front. I mean, we know what Aditya Thackeray did when he campaigned against Rohinton Mistry's book. And he pushed himself on the Mumbai University vice. 15-second response.
When was the last time you had a protest against the kind of treatment that Soni Sori has got by the police? Why are we so insensitive to rape? We are very agitated when we see rapes in our capital. Why are we not equally agitated when we see rapes in the lower strata of our society? Okay, this is again a classic case of selective agitation.
He throws it back to society. We have 2 questions there. 1 second. We are going to take those 2 young ladies on one row, and then I'll come to you in front. Yes.
My question is about, everyone here on this bench has been telling us to go out there, become part of the political process. I want to focus on the Kudankulam nuclear plant. Youth went out there and 55,000 FIRs were filed, 7,000 sedition cases. We are calling people enemies of the state for simply asking for alternate forms of energy. 40 and 15-year-olds are being called enemies of the state. Yeah. And you're telling us to go and participate?
Okay, good point. Good point. Good point.
Protest in Delhi against the sedition cases on 12-year-old children in Kudankulam. When was the last time our students, us, the middle class, what we call the youth today, responded to these? When was the last time we had a protest for POSCO in Delhi? When was the last time we agitated for it? That's what I'm asking. The only thing I expect is that we should also be sensitive to it. In the Delhi gang rape case, the 4 horrendous people who did that, before getting on the bus, they sodomized a fruit vendor. How many people even knew this? It was not highlighted by any parts of the media. It was just one fact-finding committee which said that, there are other cases also, even in that very same case, before getting on the bus, that sodomized a fruit vendor. Nobody's ever heard what happened to that fruit vendor. It's because my only problem is that we only stand up and agitate and make noise when we are hurt. It is this apathy.
What is the responsibility of political class that allows such a high level of delinquency in its society to go untouched and unnoticed?
See, when we become so selective, when we ask the political class to respond only to our grievances, only to something that affects us as a class or as our society, then that is when we filter them out. We filter out all the other voices.
Now we're very short on